Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? So welcome back to another Motion Blue video, and I'm proud to announce that this one is for Motion Blue version 4.0. So this one's been delayed for just a little bit for various reasons, but it's ready to go. It's all uploaded. The link will be down in the description below as usual with a little bit of information about Motion Blue 4.0. But this one, I do want to send a big shout out to several of my beta testers that have helped me. Version 4, I put a lot into it, and we'll go through it in this video, but I needed some help in testing it all out this time around. So I've had quite a few folks help me, and I really appreciate all the things that they do and help me and give me feedback and such. And so I did want to give them a big shout out and a thanks. So version 4 is here in both Attract Mode and Emulation Station. So we've got some new features, we've got some new enhancements, and both Attract Mode and Emulation Station have a brand new look about them. And so let's just go ahead and get into Attract Mode first. But there's more to talk about for Emulation Station here in version 4. So let's jump into Attract Mode first, and we'll go over the new changes that I've done for it, and we'll take a look at it. Okay, well, as you can see, Attract Mode, we have a brand new look, a brand new theme placed on Motion Blue. The original Motion Blue theme, the horizontal scroll wheel, they are still there. You can use them if you wish to change over to them. But I've partnered up with a friend of mine, Dwayne, and he's graciously allowed me to use his Hursty Blue themes as the default here in Attract Mode. He's made a few extra backgrounds for me and provided several of the system snaps as well. So it was great working with him, and we've had a good time testing this and putting it together for you, everybody, to use. So several folks have already seen this. His Hursty Blue has been downloaded, or available for download rather, for a while now. So many folks are, they're going to immediately recognize this because they may already use, some of you guys may already use this anyway. But it is the default now on Motion Blue 4.0. So let's just kind of, for those that have never seen Hursty Blue themes, let's just scroll through real quick, and I'll give you a quick, a few of the systems of kind of what it looks like. So as you scroll through, we'll get down to the arcade classics. And so it has the same preview videos as all the previous versions of Motion Blue did. But now with the new Hursty Blue theme, it's a vertical wheel, so some folks really preferred that over a horizontal wheel. It just made, better sense to them. And they didn't feel like changing the Attract Mode controls around to be a horizontal friendly. So the new Hursty Blue theme, the new Motion Blue default, is a vertical wheel. And as you can scroll through, it's got a few new collections that you may or may not have seen before. So let's just jump down here to go through all of the arcade systems as normal. Then you get down into the consoles, all the console systems. And as we scroll through, you get an idea of just all of them there. And as usual, Motion Blue, all of these displays come visible. You can easily go in and hide any of these displays that you don't want to use. You can look in the PDF file to look at the instructions for that. But basically, you go into the display setting, hit tab, go to displays, go into that display, and set a couple of options to no. And another thing that I did on this build, I went through and I cleaned up all of the system wheels that are available here in Motion Blue. So like for instance Dreamcast, in the prior versions of Motion Blue, the Dreamcast logo was a little too big. It kind of expanded, went out of the blue wheel that you see here on the screen. So I did go through and I've cleaned up all of the system wheels. So now all of the logos and such are in the wheel as they should be. So I did go through and clean all of those up. But as you can see, we go through the console systems, and then eventually we can get down into the handheld systems, and we'll just keep going. And then you get into the computer systems. So Motion Blue has a few extra things that version 4, I mean, has a few extra things that haven't been included previously on any Motion Blue. So I don't have it displayed yet, but I do have the Amiga CD32 as its own system, and I also have the Commodore VIC-20 displayed as its own system as well. So if you have those systems, you can copy them over there and they're ready to go. Then you get down here to all of the different collections. So there's been a lot more collections that have been made since version 3 when I released it. So you can just scroll through, and there's quite a few collections. Like I said, all of these are visible initially when you first launch Motion Blue, and you can easily just go in and hide the ones you don't need. So as you can see, there's quite a few in here. So there's a Pokemon if you're a big Pokemon fan. Alright, so let's just scroll on down to attract mode. So before we go into attract mode, let's go through, and for those folks that have never seen what Hershey Blue themes look like, let's go into a few of them. Okay, for the arcade classics and all the different arcade classics, the wheel's been resized to a normal 4x3 size. For the video preview, not the wheel. The video preview's been resized to a normal 4x3. And all the wheels, you can have all of your games. And I'm just going to scroll over to the right to go through a few of these displays, so you can get an idea of what they're all going to look like. But Dwayne did a fantastic job for these, so I really appreciate him letting me use this on Motion Blue. But that'll give you an idea of what some of these look like. Let's jump back out and let's go down to some of the console systems. So let's jump into Atari 2600. So one of the extra things here in attract mode that we've got is if you have the media for box art and cartridge art, then you can easily put that down. They'll show up there on the bottom, so on the side, and you can just scroll through and see all the different box arts that are available and the cartridge art. And as you scroll over to the next system, there's all of its boxes and cartridges that are in there, and these are all easily hidden as well in the layout options. You can choose to hide or show the box art, hide or show the cartridge art, and you can choose to hide or show all of the text information that's down at the bottom. So all of that is visible. So as you scroll through all the different systems. So let's jump out and let's go look at a collections wheel. We'll just zoom down real fast. Let's go down to Frogger. Okay, so let's go into this collection. So here's Frogger, and as you can see, we do show the box art and cartridge art down here. And like I said, you can easily remove that if you don't want to see them. And it'll just go through like that's Frogger, so there's no box art. And if you look down at the bottom right, it'll actually tell you what emulator or what system that's from. So this is MAME. I do have the MAME libretto over here. So this is the arcade version of Frogger. There's the ColecoVision, the Atari 2600. And as you go down, there's the Microsoft MSX version of Frogger. But as you go down, you can see all the different cartridges and box arts changing, as well as the emulators down on the bottom right. Let's go back up and let's go down to Pitfall. That's another collection here that's fairly new. So here we have our Pitfall games. So there's the Atari 5200 version. And that's the Nintendo Game Boy Color. There's all the Mayan Adventure versions. There's the Sega Genesis version. And MSX had a version as well. The old Sega SG-1000. And there's the Atari 2600 version. So that is what Hershey Blue themes look like, to give you a quick idea of what they look like. And all of the different collections wheels. So here's a PlayStation Shmups wheel that you can just have your PlayStation Shmups games in for. SpongeBob, Superhero, Star Wars, Spider-Man, Toki. So there's quite a few of them in there. But as a quick overview, that's what the new default theme in Motion Blue 4 is going to look like for you. So let's go into attract mode setup. There's been a few new scripts I've added in here, so let's go take a look at what they are. In the attract mode setup, there's 4 new scripts, I believe, 3 or 4, that I want to touch on that haven't been in previous releases of Motion Blue. So I'll just scroll down, just the quickest way to find them. You have all your regular ones that have been here. So displays utility. So this is a new script that's in Motion Blue version 4. What this allows you to do is when you will need a keyboard to use it, but when you launch it, you have the ability, there's going to be 4 choices, and I'll show it here on the screen while I talk about it. But there's going to be 4 choices, and what this allows you to do is a very quick and easy way to either show or hide a large amount of displays all at the same time. So as you can see on the screen in front of you here, here's the script when it's running. You can hide all of the MAME and FBA Classics displays, or you can choose to show all of the Classics displays. And as well, you can choose to show or hide all of the various game collections displays that are in the system. So as Motion Blue comes shipped with all of those visible. So instead of going one by one and setting the show and cycle and show and menu options to a no for that particular display, you can just run this displays utility script, and you can choose one of these 4 options or 2 options if you want to hide things, and do a restart on attract mode, and all of those collections or classics will not be visible for you, and then you can always return them back to a show status whenever you want to. Okay, so we get back out. So one of the things that's been there since the beginning is that generates favorites. So you go through all your various systems and displays, you tag favorites, you come back in here and you run this script and it generates a favorites ROM list for you. What I've also now included is a remove all favorites script. So when you run this, what'll happen is it will get rid of all of your tagged favorites that you've currently have tagged, and it'll also zero out the favorites ROM list file. So basically it'll be starting fresh is what, in essence, what will happen. Loading screens. This is one that will also show up over in Emulation Station, but there's been a whole suite of Motion Blue themed game loading screens that have been put onto the system. And what this script will do is when you run it, it will give you a one-click ability to enable all of those loading screens or disable all of those loading screens, all in one quick shot. So you will need a keyboard to run this script as well, but every system has a loading screen specifically for it, so that's what those loading screen script is all about. And this one here is another new one that is included in version 4. So if you've ever hit tab and changed some controls around, or in the past you've hit tab and you've hid some displays and you don't know which ones you've hidden and that types of thing, what the reset attract mode, what this script will do is it'll put the default Motion Blue attract.config file back online. And then once you do a restart of attract mode, it'll basically be just like a fresh install of Motion Blue version 4. All of the attract mode parameters, the controls, the displays, and everything will be reset back to the defaults as they come shipped in version 4 base image. And let's see. I can't remember if this one was in previous versions or not. I think it was, but basically this is an update attract mode script. You can just run this, and it will take a little bit, 20 to 30 minutes, depending on your internet connection. What it'll do is it'll go fetch and update your version of attract mode to all the latest stuff. Like I said, it does take a little bit to run, but just let it run. It'll finish. So I think that's about all of the new features in the attract mode setup display that's in here. So there's a lot to attract mode, or a lot, attract mode version 4's got in it. It's got a new scripts, definitely a new look, more collections, and that sorts of thing. So let me get reset back up, and I'll reboot over into Emulation Station, and we'll go through all of the new things that are over there, because there's quite a few new ones that we need to touch on over in Emulation Station. Alright, so here we are in Emulation Station, and right off the bat you can definitely see a big change from the previous versions of Motion Blue. So once again, I've used the Hursty Blue themes here in Emulation Station as the default theme. The original Motion Blue Emulation Station theme is still available, so you just click on Start, go down to Settings, and change your theme to Motion Blue. But this is the new version of Motion Blue version 4. This is the new default theme that you're going to see. So, once again, thanks to Dwayne for helping me and make new backgrounds and everything for this. So I'll just scroll over real quick just to give you an idea, what it looks like when you scroll through the different systems. And like I said earlier, I did go through and clean up all of the system wheels. So now all the logos and stuff are better proportion inside the system wheels. But as you can see, the background is the same for all of the different menus choices. So let's go into the Amiga system. So right now I haven't copied any of the Amiga games over. So when I go in here, you'll notice that's the basic view. So just the listing of the games. Like I said, I don't have any. So let's jump over into Atari 2600. So here is the Atari 2600 view for it. And like I said, it's the same backgrounds as the attract mode theme as well. So all of the different systems here in Emulation Station do have a different background. And I know the latest version of RetroPie, the devs are coming out with a fix for the infamous white screen of death bug that Emulation Station has had for a number of years. But even if you don't upgrade to that latest version that's come out, the white screen of death doesn't affect the new Hursty Blue theme here in Emulation Station because of how I coded the backgrounds to use. So there won't be any issue. You can add as many systems in here as you want. I've probably got about 30 or 40 in here without any problem. And I did forego adding the box art here in Emulation Station, so I do not show the box art. But as you can see, as I scroll through the different games, at the upper left corner you do see the wheel changing for all of the different games, and it uses the same media as normal as attract mode does. But this is the new default theme for Emulation Station. So rather than go back up to the menu, I'm just going to hit right on my D-pad, and let's just scroll through a number of these systems. So there's the Atari 5200, the Atari 7800, Atari Lynx, ColecoVision. Here's Daphne. You can see the logos changing in the upper left corner up there. But yep, now Emulation Station uses the same theme as attract mode does, using the Hursty's Blue theme. So they're the basic view for Dreamcast, since I don't have any games over there. So here's Family Computer. Here's Final Burn Alpha. And we'll just scroll through a number of these systems. Game & Watch, Game Gear, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color. There's the MAME version for Hursty Blue. And Master System, Mega Drive. You can easily change that to be Sega Genesis, just either in the platforms.config or alter the ES Systems config. That was Mega Drive Japan, by the way, that one there. So here's MSX, MSX2, Nintendo 64. But that's the new default theme here in Emulation Station. So there's been a few new additions to scripts here in Emulation Station for version 4, and that's what I want to touch on now, because it is going to take a little bit of time to demo it and to figure that out and to show you how it works. Now in Emulation Station, the inside RetroPie menu, let's go in here. So real quick, I'm going to come down to loading screens. So as I mentioned it earlier, the loading screens are what you see when you launch a game. And let's go ahead and run this script right now, and let's enable, because right now they're disabled, so let's go ahead and run this script, and we will enable all of the loading screens, and then we'll jump back out and run a game so you can see what they're going to look like. Okay, so when the script first runs, you're going to be presented with two options. So option number one is enable all of the different loading screens, and option two is disable all of the different loading screens. So on your keyboard, just press the number 1 and then just press enter, and the script will kick off. It'll do all of the changes that it needs to on the back end side. And when the script is finished, you'll automatically be sent back into the RetroPie menu. Here we are back at the menu. So now if we jump out and go back over to, say, Atari 2600, just because I like to use that system. It's easy. It's fun to play. Alright, so let's run up here to Adventure. So when I press enter, you're going to see what the loading screens are going to look like. So let's launch an Atari 5200 game. Let's go launch Berserk. Okay, so that'll give you a little taste of what the loading screens look like. And so the other big change that I want to go over is inside Emulation Station now. There's a new script over in the RetroPie menu called Collections Menus. So what this will do is in Emulation Station, you will now have the ability to add up to 54 different collections wheels in Emulation Station. As you can see on the screen, I have 2 I've added already previously. I've added the Williams Classics, which is an arcade-based collections menu for Joust, Robotron, and those few other games that they make. And I've added a collection for Pitfall games. So as I mentioned, there's 54 different ones that you can have right now. But the way this works is you go run that script. You will need a keyboard to do it. So when you run the script, and we'll run it here in a few minutes, and I'll show you what it looks like. When you copy all of your ROMs over, and you don't do anything different, you just copy your ROMs into their normal folders, their box arts, you copy all of that into the regular folders over in the /ROMs directory, just like you normally would. These collection menus, the way the scripts work is when you choose to say Pitfall. When I ran the script and I chose to add Pitfall, what it'll do is it went through all of my ROM folders and looked for all of the various Pitfall games that are available. And when it found one, it did some Unix things on the back end, it made some symbolic links for them, but basically in essence what it does is it makes links to all of the current Pitfall games in their regular folders, so that way Emulation Station sees or can see that those games are there and show them in the menu. If you ever do a collections menu and then later you add more ROMs onto your system, they don't automatically show up. You will have to go rerun the collections menus script and do an update for that collection, and it'll update itself and it'll find all the new ROMs that you've copied over. So let's just take a look at these and then we'll go run the script and I'll show you what it looks like. So if I go into the Pitfall, here are all of the Pitfall games that I currently have on my RetroPie setup here in Emulation Station. And you can just scroll through them and look at them, and you can run any of them that you want to. The mapping, the ROM to emulator mapping, has already been pre-set up and defined, so you don't have to worry about that. Now you can change them if you want to by pressing the A button, and you can change an emulator for like MAME or something, but everything else is default. It's all set up so it knows when I launch an Atari 2600 game, it knows to launch the Atari 2600 emulator for that ROM. You don't have to do any of the configuring yourself. It's already done. The one thing I wished I could have done here in version 4, and maybe it'll be an enhancement for future versions, is I haven't figured out a way really yet to say, okay, I'm sitting on this Pitfall game, but what system does it belong to? Other than launching it, I really don't know, unless I just happen to know that, yes, I know this is the Atari 2600 version of Pitfall. But anyway, so these are collections menus. Like this, there's the Pitfall one. And like I said, I went into the Williams Classics and I added Williams Classics in here. So there's Defender, Joust, Narc, and Robotron, one of my favorite games of all times, Robotron. So all of these games are in their normal ROM folders. I didn't have to do anything special. Once I added all my ROMs, all I did was I went and ran the script to add them. So let's go take a look at that script now. And it's over here in RetroPie menu. So if we go in here, we go down a couple, it's called Collections Menus. So as I mentioned, you will need a keyboard for this function, and there's up to 54 different ones that you can actually add into your Emulation Station setup. And I will let you know, though, if you start adding more and more of these, just like if you added a lot more ROMs, as you add ROMs, Emulation Station takes longer to boot up, right? Well, this is the same thing. If you add more and more of these collections, it will take longer to initially, when you first turn it on, for Emulation Station to finish booting and be at the menu. And I'm not talking like half an hour type stuff. It will take a few more minutes though, so don't be alarmed that it takes, all of a sudden it takes 3 to 5 minutes to boot up when it used to only take 1 or 2. It's just as you've added more and more ROMs and more collections, it will take a little longer to boot up, but nothing too significant. But anyway, so let's run this script and I will walk you through it. Okay, so when you run the script, here you're presented with the menu of all 54 available collections that you can add into your Emulation Station build. And I've already added, as we saw, I've already added the Pitfall collection, and I've already added the Williams Classics collection. So this time around we're going to add Frogger. So looking at our list, Frogger is number 11. So like I said, you do need a keyboard for this. So just hit the number 11 and put that in there and press enter on your keyboard. So the script will think for a second and then it'll continue on. If you've already added this collection and you don't want it anymore, then you would just do a number 1 to remove this collection. But in our case, we need to add it. Now, if you add more ROMs later, you do this same step to update it, because you do have to manually update it as you add ROMs later. But since this is the first time, we'll just hit the number 2 for add or update. So let's type in number 2. And then once I get that in there, press enter on the keyboard. And basically what the script is doing is there is a set list of all of the different Frogger games that are available across all of the various systems. What the script does is it looks at that list and then it goes through all of our ROM folders looking for those specific games. And when it finds one, when it finds a match for one of them, it sets up a symbolic link to it from this collections folder to your real ROMs folder. It sets up a link to it, and it also sets up a link to a special gamelist.xml file that's on the system. So that way, Emulation Station will be able to see them. So just like adding new ROMs, you do have to do a restart of Emulation Station after you've removed, added, or updated any of these collections menus. And when the script is finished, it just returns us back to the RetroPie menu. So now just the normal thing, just hit start on your gamepad controller and that'll bring up the pop-up menu. So just go down to quit and do a restart of Emulation Station. Okay, so we've restarted Emulation Station. So now if I scroll to the left, voila, there is my new Frogger collections item here on Emulation Station's main menu. And it found 17 different Frogger games that are currently on my system. So let's go into it. So there we go. Here's all the different Frogger games that are available on my system to play. And like I said, hopefully a future enhancement will be to put some kind of a flag or a marker on here that'll tell us what system that this particular game is from. That's just one thing I haven't figured an easy way how to do it yet, but it's coming. So I'm probably future release will have that. But there you go. Now you can add collections into Emulation Station just like we have in Attract mode. So there we go. But as I mentioned, and as you saw, there are up to 54 of these different collections that are available here in Emulation Station. And these are just some of the other background images that are on the other systems you can see, but they are the exact same ones that are in the Attract mode Hershey Blue theme. So they are in sync now. But anyway, that's the big change in Emulation Station for Motion Blue 4.0. It looks different. We've got a new theme. We have the ability to have up to 54 different collections menus now within Emulation Station. And as you add more and more of those collections, just like when you add more and more ROMs, it will take Emulation Station longer to boot up when you first boot it up, right? So as you add more and more ROMs, Emulation Station takes longer and longer to boot. If you add more and more and more of these collections into Emulation Station, expect that it will take a little longer to boot. And I'm not talking like an hour or nothing like that. It does take several more minutes though if you start adding many of those collections, so that is something to be aware of. But it will eventually boot up, so it will take a little extra time. But there you go. I'm pretty excited that that capability is now within Emulation Station with my script to add all of those new collections menus. There's a lot of trickery involved on the back end side, on the Unix side, to make all of that happen. I chose those 54 just because those happen to be the 54 that I had at the moment, basically. Future possibilities will be additional collections that will be available to add into Emulation Station. It does take a little bit of time and a few different files to be able to make those happen. But so if you guys have any suggestions for future ones that you want to see in Emulation Station, just let me know, and we'll, I'm sure there'll be a 4.1 or a 4.2 version of Motion Blue before too long. But version 4.0 now has all of those new functions and abilities. Oh, before I forget, another one. I forgot. So just too much stuff to go over here in version 4. For version 4, I've already pre-installed and pre-set up, and thanks to Dom and the Amiga Facebook group for those guys, for the WHD load stuff for the Amiga games. So if you're on Facebook, I would say jump on over there and join their Facebook group. They're a great bunch of knowledgeable guys who are happy to share everything and how to get this running. But the Amiga emulation on version 4 of Motion Blue, I've already pre-installed and set up all of the WHD load configurations for Amiga and all the other things that it can emulate. I've also split out the Amiga CD32 as its own system, and in the included PDF file there's instructions on what you need to do for that system as far as getting it configured and where to put the folders and stuff to make Amiga CD32 operate as its own standalone system. But it is ready to go for the WHD load stuff for all of the Amiga emulation, and so that is also here on Motion Blue 4.0. But anyway, as a quick high-level overview of Attract mode and Emulation Station for version 4 of Motion Blue, there you go. And I'll throw up a few screenshots of some of the loading screens so you can get a better picture of them, of the various systems here at the end of this video. And otherwise, I look forward to hearing from you guys how you like Motion Blue 4.0. If you have any bugs, let me know. Any enhancements you want, let me know. And it may be a while, though, I will admit, before any updates come out in the future. So I'm gonna take a break maybe after version 4 is released here. But anyway, so there you go, everyone. There is Motion Blue version 4.0.